fact that it was just in my mouth and had a little bit of spit on it probably made things better for me there. Welcome back, everybody, to Midlife Moto Garage. In last week's episode, we discussed some protection mods for our 2025 Triumph Speed Twin 1200 RS. We installed some factory OEM Triumph dresser bars to protect us from me. And we also installed some Denali D3 amber driving lights to protect us and make us a little bit more conspicuous from the other drivers on the road, make us stand out a little bit. So this episode's title is going to be Protection Part 2. We're going to be installing an Evotech Performance Radiator Guard, which is absolutely gorgeous and really going to complete the look on the front of the bike, along with protecting that radiator from rocks and other road debris. To go along with that, we're going to be installing a Tamarit Motorcycles Speed Twin belly pan, painted in gorgeous Baja orange to match the bike. Now, the Speed Twin belly pan is more of a styling mod, but it's also going to offer us a little bit of protection, because what did we do? We purchased an extra Evotech Performance Radiator Guard to use as the mesh lining for the Tamarit belly pan. So that should protect the bottom end of the motor as well. So stick around while we protect our bike from rocks, road debris, and our own poor life choices. This bike is being built to be ridden. It's not going to be a garage queen, and it is definitely not going to be some kind of coffee shop jewelry to park outside a Starbucks. This bike is going to be driven on real roads with real cars and real road debris. And the radiator, well, it's just sitting there out in the open. And that seems a little bit optimistic for me. So I'd like to wrap it up with something a little bit more rigid and rugged than literally nothing. So let's get into it. What could possibly go wrong? Installation of the Evotech Radiator Guard could not be any simpler. It involves literally the parts that came with the kit and one tool. So here are the parts that came with the kit. You've got your guard itself, and you've got these little rubber isolators to help stop vibrations, which we are going to place in the guard before we install it. We only need a 5mm Allen wrench to do the installation, and there's only a total of 2 bolts that need to be removed and reinstalled. We're going to be reusing the hardware from the Triumph. The only thing that may or may not be required, but we're going to see as we get there, is we're going to need some Loctite 243. That's your standard blue semi-permanent Loctite, just to prevent the bolts from rattling out. So the first thing we're going to do is we're just going to test fit the radiator guard, and we're going to slide it in here. And oh goodness gracious, it looks beautiful. So everything fits perfectly, and I think we're just going to put these little rubber isolators down the long edges of the guard. So we've got our 6 little rubber isolators that came with the Evotech Radiator Guard, all separated and ready to install. Here's our Evotech Radiator Guard. We have our little tiny rubber isolators, and if you notice, right in line with the Evotech logo, just off to the side of them, there is a round hole instead of the hexagonal holes that are everywhere else. There's another round hole on the other side. There's a third round hole down here at the bottom on the right, and there is a 4th round hole down here at the bottom on the left. Let's just pop these guys in here, couldn't be any easier. We've got our little rubber grommet, and we've got the little round hole. We are on the back side, and we are just going to kind of twist and wiggle it in to this round hole, and as you'll see, in there with very little effort. Now we're going to repeat that procedure 5 more times, and then this thing will be ready to go in. Here we are with our radiator guard ready to be installed. It did include 6 of the little rubber isolators, but we only used 5. 1 at each of the 4 corners and 1 hiding right here under the little Evotech badge. So let's get this thing onto the bike. First thing we're gonna do is we're gonna grab our 5mm. I've got it on one of my Milwaukee electric ratchets. This is my 1/4 inch M12. These are the best tools you could possibly purchase for your garage. The 1/4 and the 3/8 are absolutely phenomenal tools. So I'm just gonna sneak this in here. I'm gonna loosen up these 2 bolts that hold the radiator into position. Then we're gonna sneak the guard on over the top and hopefully just tighten it back down. Now, there definitely was some thread locker on there, so we're gonna clean that up and install some new thread locker once we reinstall these bolts. Since these bolts had Loctite on them from the factory or some type of thread locker, we're gonna reapply that. But just to make sure that it sticks correctly and that everything goes according to plan, we've got our little wire brush here, and we're just gonna clean the threads of the bolts to get out any of the dried residual thread locker. Then after we do that, we're gonna just spray a little alcohol, just regular rubbing alcohol, on a microfiber towel and give them a little rinse before we apply new Loctite. Okay, so that one's ready to be installed. Just a quick drop is all we need. We're just gonna let that drip off. There's our drip. Perfect. Now this bolt is ready to go in at the top of our radiator guard. So once we get here, just get them lined up nice and perfect. Get that bolt started. All right, started it by hand. Got our ratchet ready to go. Just snug. Now, if all you're doing is installing the Evotech Performance radiator guard, clean up your other bolt, get it installed, and the installation is complete. But we're gonna leave this out for now because we have something else super exciting to install. Okay, so here's our Tamarit belly pan. Now Tamarit, when they manufacture these belly pans, they, by default, place their logo on the front, and then they place some silver chicken wire, basically like an aluminum mesh, behind the openings to protect whatever's going on here and to add a little bit of style. But since our theme here is gonna be very much orange and black, we don't want a silver mesh here. So we're gonna take our second Evotech Performance radiator guard and chop it up so that we have a matching mesh from the radiator guard all the way down into the belly pan. And I think it's gonna look fantastic. The other thing we have to take into consideration is the Tamarit motorcycle's logo, although beautiful, is silver. Now, I might have thought of leaving it off entirely, but I think this round element here with the round logo on top is really gonna look cool. So we're probably just gonna wrap that silver logo in a gloss or a matte black. We're working on that one now. So let's get into this. First thing we need to do is we're gonna need to measure and trim and install our mesh onto the back, and then we can get to installing the actual parts. Okay, so we're over at the workbench here and we're getting ready to customize our Tamarit belly pan. When I placed my order for my second Evotech Performance radiator guard through A&J Cycles, shout out Brian, he shot me an email and said, hey, did you mean to do that? And I said, yeah, wait and see what you got coming. So here we go. Basically what we're gonna do is we are going to trim up the mesh to fit in behind here and give us a cohesive look the whole way down the front of the bike. So we're gonna take some measurements, we're gonna make some cuts, and we're going to figure out a way to attach this thing without destroying everything. We'll see. Okay, so step one is gonna be, let's measure the width of this belly pan, and we're gonna need just about 7 inches of width for the mesh insert. And we're gonna need somewhere between 8.5 and 9.5 inches vertically. So we're gonna get this out of the way so we make sure not to scratch it while we're working. And I think for the first step, what we're gonna do is we're just gonna knock the bottom off of the Evotech radiator guard, and then that's gonna give us a nice flat surface for which we can figure out the other dimension. Now we chopped off that first flange at the bottom of the radiator guard here. So we're gonna do a quick test fit and pop that guy in to here, and it fits absolutely perfectly. We're loving it. So then our next step is going to be to cut it just above here, we think. And that should give us exactly what we need. Now, if I'm marking something that's black, I try to use painter's tape because it makes my life a little bit easier without trying to see some stupid mark that I made. So we're going to place a line of painter's tape right here. So now we have our line of painter's tape, and we're gonna cut right across the line with our cordless grinder. All right, second cut done. Peel our tape. Now we do another test fit, and it is looking absolutely perfect. So now the only thing we're gonna do is, like we said, we are going to notch this side rail right in the middle here, between the two openings in the Tamarit belly pan. And you know what we might also do? We might knock these corners off so that it's a little bit more conforming to the round shape there. Another test fit. And now it fits in there absolutely perfectly, conforms to the inside corners. Then we're just gonna go and notch this so that we get some flexibility. All right, so now we just gotta notch them, and we're just gonna do this right above the little tape marks that we made on either side of the... And there we go. Now we've got a little bit of flexibility. We just got done peeling our tape. We're going to grab a little file, and we are going to clean up our edges a little bit. And there's no need for you guys to have to watch that. Well, at least watch it in super fast motion. Hello! And you know, pro tip, don't drop it. All right, so now we're done. We've got a little bit of a bend in the side, and we've got all of our sharp edges taken down with our little Milwaukee M12 band file, which is another fantastic tool that I love. We're gonna pop this thing in the back of our belly pan here. And the fit is absolutely perfect. So now the only thing we have to do is figure out a way to adhere this thing. And we're gonna use 2-part AB epoxy to hold it into the fiberglass. So if you've never played with this AB before, I believe it's a British product. I'm not 100% sure. It's very similar to a JB Weld, but it's 2 parts of this kind of toffee stuff. One is this tan color and the other one is this black color. One is the epoxy, one is the hardener, or one is the resin, one is the hardener, however that works. And we just need to create a nice little ball, and we're gonna stick our radiator guard mesh in behind the belly pan using those balls. When they cure, they are drillable, tappable, allable, everything you could possibly want to do with it, and they work really well. So we're gonna start off small. It's equal parts, so we're just gonna rip off maybe a 1 inch by 1/2 inch block, maybe 1 1/2 by 1. Do the same with the hardener here, and we are just going to go ahead and knead them together. It takes a lot of effort, so I'm definitely gonna speed this up. And we're gonna drop it. Okay, so we've kneaded it together and we've reached this nice uniform grayish color. Now we've got our ball of epoxy. Let's pack up the rest of our epoxy so that we can use it again next time, or else it will dry out. I think we're gonna start by just pressing a little ball of epoxy into the fiberglass area here, right where kind of Tamarit had theirs. All right, 2 little balls there, 2 little balls. How can you tell it was a mail plane? Bam, epoxy is in. We're gonna center up our guard, and we are going to just smush it into the epoxy as best as we possibly can so that everything is nice and flush on the outside here. And that is exactly what we were going for. So there is our final product as far as the mesh is concerned. So we're gonna put this aside now that we have our mesh installed, and we're gonna let that dry. Now that really takes overnight to cure, but we're not gonna be putting any pressure on it once we do the installation. And if you hear those sirens in the background, which I'm hoping you don't, but who knows, it could happen. It is the weekend before Christmas, and my town has Santa on a fire truck driving around the whole neighborhood all day. And yeah, so sorry if that's the case. Okay, so we're getting ready to install our little Tamarit Motorcycles logo that is currently silver onto the belly pan. So we got a little piece of 3M 2080 black vinyl film, and we're gonna just pop it over the top. What we first did was we cleaned the surface of the Tamarit logo with a little bit of isopropyl rubbing alcohol because anytime you're doing vinyl wrapping, it just makes a lot of sense to remove any grease or adhesive or anything that's residual on the face of it to make sure your wrap is gonna stick. So we've got a little piece of wrap, we're gonna peel it off and pop it on. Now, in order to avoid screwing up everything you're doing, whenever you're wrapping, work from the center to the edges and press and press and press and press until everything looks perfect. Now, I'm gonna get a little more advanced with this because I have to get in on the actual Tamarit characters. So I am going to grab a couple little tucking tools and work to press that in as best as I can. So we've got our vinyl wrap applied to the face of this Tamarit logo, and we're just gonna go ahead and keep working with our tucking tools to get all the air bubbles out so that we can see the whole Tamarit logo. We're going to apply some heat to this, and that is going to make everything look perfect. Okay. So now that we've gone all the way around and we're stuck down, we are going to chop the residual. Oh, we're going to drop. I said drop. I meant chop. And I said drop. And I did. Okay. And then we're just going to use the blade and follow the edge of the metal badge with the blade. And there we have it. Our Tamarit badge is wrapped in black, so it's not going to stick out like a sore thumb, and be silver. And the final thing we're going to do is we are going to heat it with a heat gun, and that will be the final step in the wrapping procedure. All right, so we got our Milwaukee heat gun here, and we're just applying heat to the top of the Tamarit logo. And once it gets hot, we are going to press down to make sure that everything is perfectly seated. And there we go, final product. I think it looks fantastic, and I'm gonna get ready to go stick it on the bike. Well, on the belly pan anyway, not on the bike. Now that we've got our badge wrapped in black vinyl, the next thing we're gonna do is apply a little bit of the 3M Automotive Acrylic Plus attachment tape. That's the double stick foam tape that you use for basically everything on a car or on a motorcycle to attach. The spoiler on your car is probably held on with this. So we're gonna cut 2 pieces and get it ready to stick onto the belly pan. Now that we've got our double stick tape on the back of the badge, we are just gonna peel it up, which is probably the hardest part of dealing with this. And we are going to pop it right into the round little area on the belly pan. And I'm gonna point this at me instead of at the camera to make sure I don't screw it up. Okay, so the belly pan comes with its own hardware. One piece of the hardware is this little guy, which is a rubber grommet that has a standoff with a flange on it. So that rubber grommet, we are going to insert into the big top hole on our belly pan. And then once we push the rubber grommet through, and it's in the correct location and everything looks great and we're happy, then we will put the steel insert in. Don't try to insert the steel insert and the rubber grommet at the same time, because that won't work. Definitely requires a fair amount of force. Avoid the instinct to use tools because you will end up scratching the crap out of your belly pan. So when you're trying to insert this rubber grommet, it's going to be a very difficult thing to push through. Don't use anything metallic, use plastic tools and just kind of push it through the hole little by little, and do not scratch your parts. And just work it through nice and easy, take your time. This is one of those spots where things can go very wrong if you rush. Okay, so now that you've worked that all the way through, the next thing to do is take the little silver standoff and pop it through from the front. The fact that it was just in my mouth and had a little bit of spit on it probably made things better for me there. Inside the hardware kit for the belly pan from Tamarit comes these two little threaded panel nuts. So these take a non-threaded hole and turn it into a threaded hole on a piece of sheet metal. So down underneath the bike, you've got two non-threaded holes that we are going to pop these right onto the sheet metal with the bumpy part facing up towards the bike. That couldn't have been any easier. That feels suspect. Okay. Now we get the fun part. We get to bolt this thing onto our bike. So Tamarit included us two short little bolts with two flat washers and then one long bolt for this top nut here. Now the long bolt that they included us is silver and this is silver, and I would really like to cover that up with this black flat washer and use a black bolt. So that is going to be my goal here. That seems like it doesn't fit. So we're gonna go digging for some more hardware and try and come up with something that does. But this might work. Beautiful. Perfect. Outstanding. Okay, so maybe a little bit of a circumspect way to get there, but not too hard. A little bit of hardware fiddliness that we had to deal with here, but nothing major. The Evotech Performance radiator guard looks absolutely fantastic and is going to protect our radiator from road debris and whatnot. And our Tamarit belly pan is going to really balance out the front of this bike visually, along with adding a little bit extra protection down at the bottom of the engine here. I think it looks fantastic, and I'm super happy with the way it turned out. And we'll see you all on the next one. Don't forget, wrench, regret, repeat.